Hi, Tom. Welcome. It's very nice to meet you, and thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing well. I appreciate the invite. I've been watching some of your stuff, and I really cool. I really like it a lot. Really do.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. Um, Tom, before we dive in, can you tell me a bit about yourself, how you discovered carnivore? How did it all start for you?
Well, it's kind of a long story. How much time do you have? Because it goes way back. I'm a retired chef and from New Jersey, and went into retirement and moved down to North Carolina. I was in my 50s and bought some property down there, and I was going to become a farmer. Okay, but what I was going to be doing is we were going to be raising like herbs and stuff like that because I did have a lot of friends in the restaurant business. So raise this kind of stuff like that. Anyway, what happened was I started passing blood. Now back then I was a heavy smoker, and moving from New Jersey down into North Carolina, um, I was smoking quite a bit, and like maybe 6 months before um, I quit. But I was diagnosed with bladder cancer, and they discovered some tumors in my bladder and stuff like that. That was the game changer. This is what happened to where my trust with the medical field, okay, started to change. Okay, and I started feeling that we were being lied to about as far as what we were eating, how we were eating, and how they keep you on that treadmill, that constant going on. Anyway, I had all told, I had 18 tumors removed from my bladder over the course of 3 years. Uh, in between that, the doctor had told me to go home and get your affairs in order, Tom, because they just keep coming. They just don't stop. So that was a mind blowing experience for me. Okay, I think it was like 52, I think, and they sent me to an endocrinologist because they couldn't do the treatments anymore because I developed type 2 diabetes from the treatments. So actually, what it does is not only does it try to kill the tumors in your bladder, but it also overworks your liver, okay, your pancreas, and stuff like that. This is stuff that I found out later on. I didn't know that right at the beginning. So it was funny, Joseph, because they sent me to a nutritionist and an endocrinologist in the same office, and they put me on the pyramid. Okay, breads, grains, all this stuff, fruits. Okay, so I'm saying to myself, this doesn't make sense because here I am, type 2 diabetic. You're telling you to stay away from sugars, and what am I eating? Sweet potatoes. I'm juicing. I'm juicing apples and beets and all kinds of stuff that just creates sugar. That's when I started diving into keto was just starting, but Atkins was out for a long time, and I guess I was always like on Atkins. When I was growing up as a kid, I hated vegetables. I couldn't stand vegetables when I was a kid. But later on in life, in the restaurant business and as a chef, it was you were sort of taught that it was part of your nutrition, Um, and there again, we were growing all kinds of different stuff. I had 17 acres of ground out there. So after I was told get my affairs in order, and then finding out that I had type 2 diabetes, they couldn't do the treatment no more because of the type 2 diabetes. So telling me to get my affairs in order and then tell me I have type 2 diabetes, I said, what else are you going to hit me with? You know what I mean? It's just more and more and more stuff falling on. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take the bull by the horn. So not trying to be a know-it-all and everything like that, but I told the doctor, wait a minute, we're talking about me. We're not talking about a general population. Well, this might work and that might work. I want to know what's working for me. So with that all said, I started watching what I was eating. I got away from the juicing. I told the endocrinologist and I told the nutritionist that they were crazy. Okay. And I said, what you want me to do is nuts. I said, are you just keeping the cycle going? So right away, from Jersey, I always had that chip on my shoulder with different things. So I started watching what I was eating. Started doing some more research with keto, Atkins, meat, butter, and all that stuff like that. And I'm saying, wow, this is completely crazy. to do that. But I started lightly. Now my journey goes up and down, up and down, up and down, because I'll get into it a little later. But it's a head game. It gets into your mind as far as the cravings. Cravings are completely. I mean, you go into a store, and what's the first thing you walk into? It's the bakery. Okay. Whoa. Okay, this is the danger zone for me. You know what I'm saying? So after a while, we moved. I sold the place in North Carolina, and I told my wife, I said, you know what? He said I was basically, like I said, I had 18 tumors removed from my bladder over a 3-year period. And just starting to eating the way I was eating, and then plus I was taking a couple supplements that were from Canada and stuff that weren't allowed in the country. And one started, I felt like it was working. Plus with my diet, so the diet part of it started getting a little bit more. I was getting a little bit more involved in that, being a chef, right, trying different things, debunking some other stuff that was told what we should eat. And then I said, you know what, this meat-based protocol here, I said, you know what, it's working. So then it started triggering my mind about, wait a minute. So they're lying to me. So I'm from the age of red meat no good, fat no good. So you got to eat carbs. Okay, you got to have bread. You got to have pastas, and the more carbs, the better. And get away from that red meat; it's going to kill you. Furthest thing from the truth. So we moved to Florida, and so I got into it. I get into keto, ketovore. Didn't know it at the time, but I got into keto really hard, and I lost like 40 pounds in like 3 weeks. What the hell is going on here? I said, this can't be true, because, like I said, I'm 71 years old right now. So thinking back of what we were taught, what was drummed in our head, all right, red meat, no good, stay away from it. Oh, butter, are you crazy? Eat this parquet, it's better. The margarine, it's better for you. So now I'm realizing that we were being lied to. So I go to see the doctor, and the doctor sent. Well, actually, let me go back. My doctor, the urologist, okay, in North Carolina, was actually from Connecticut. So me and him actually we talk the same language. Let's put it that way. Okay. So he had sent me with to his schoolmate that he went to Emory Medical in Georgia. He says, "This is a good guy. I'm going to tell him about you and send you down to see that." So I go down and see. When we moved to Florida, I go down and I see this urologist, and he says, "I don't see anything." He says, "So whatever you're doing, keep doing what you're doing." He said, "I can't tell you exactly, or know what you're doing." He says, "Because I can't do it. It's just the way it is." He said, "But keep doing what you're doing." But in the back of my mind, he said, "You're clear." Okay. But in the back of my mind, I'm saying, I don't think you're ever clear from cancer. I think it lurks in your body, and just keeps on going because of how much sugar, how many carbs we eat in a day is ludicrous. It's crazy. Okay. So I remember as a kid sitting in front of the TV watching the Cowboys, and this and that, and eating alphabets, sugar. And my mom telling me, drink the milk with the sugar and it's good for you. It's like a complete maniac. So I went probably for a year. Okay. Doing keto, lost a ton of weight, feeling really good, but my blood sugar wouldn't drop. What the hell's going on with that? What is going on with this? So, you ever hear of Murphy's Law? Okay, well, you're looking at them. Anything that's going to go wrong goes wrong. That's me. So I dabbled back and forth with. I got that poor me syndrome, and I said before it's a head game. Thinking about it, pizza, all the vices. You know what I mean? Bread. I love fresh bread. Oh my God. I used to, do a lot of baking and stuff. Turn around, I fell off the wagon. And when I fell off the wagon, I mean, I went off the cliff. All right. Everything that I lost, I gained back plus. Okay. So I lost 40 pounds and gained 20 more back. So I gained 60 more pounds back. So laying in bed one night, and I'm saying to myself, "This has got to stop." I mean, just I'm seeing all I do is I'm in retirement, and all I'm doing is seeing doctors. This is completely crazy. So I told my wife, back to it again. She would just go, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah," and walk away from me. So I remember going down to the pool after I gained the weight back again. I'm looking around at people and I'm saying, "This is crazy." Matter of fact, all the old women would hang around me. Okay, not because they wanted to be around me, just because they wanted shade. That's how big I was. So I jumped back on it again. Then I found carnivore. Just meat. That's my game right there. Okay, I could eat meat constantly. This is perfect. There again, started dropping the weight, started feeling good again. Doctor said your A1C is right back 5.6. And there again, when I say it's a head game, okay, because sugar to me is the most addictive thing you could have. I mean, alcohol's bad, drugs are bad, smoking is worse, but sugar's all around us. No matter what we do, sugar is there. Think about it. Ooh, chocolate pie or whatever. Okay, so that's a hard horse to get off of. But doing carnivore, I mean, the results came back in a flash. A1C was down, lost another ton of weight. So up to now, at that point, I was down 72 pounds. But staying carnivore, I think I did carnivore for possibly 6 months to a year, on and off. 6 months hard, carnivore on and off. So I'm the type of guy where I was probably doing it wrong. A little bit too much fat was adding to it. Okay, sometimes a little bit too much protein. So doing research, getting into it. Well, sometimes in my metabolism, too much protein was turning it into glucose. Okay, so I'm saying, well, man, I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. Well, long story short, I was battling with that back and forth. Still lost the weight, still feeling pretty good, but I just couldn't get them numbers down because here again, we from all the different creators and stuff like that on YouTube talking about these. Well, you have this and have that, and you're going to get to where you're at. I put a lot of info into that. I took a lot of info out. Wasn't working for me. Just was not working. So I'm saying, we turn around and we move out here to Las Vegas. My daughter and my grandkids moved out. We come out here to visit, and I looked around and just said, it's beautiful, really nice. I think we're going to make the change. Florida was nice, too humid. Okay, so I went from the frying pan into the oven out here. Okay, so left the humidity, but I went into a convection oven. Like today's 107 degrees right now. So anyway, I'm here and I'm cooking. My grandson, he was filming. Pop, I'm going to put you on YouTube. Oh, okay, whatever. I don't know what the hell he was talking about. So, but then I got the bug for doing that. But then I got into keto again, ketovore. All right, carnivore. I would go back and forth. So the more I balanced things out, the more my numbers were coming down. All right, lost the weight, and now up to today, as of today, I'm down 84 pounds altogether. All right, and I finally got my numbers back to where they're supposed to be. And the story about what I was doing is, and I keep saying that it's a head game because, here in Vegas, okay, you can go to a buffet, and what's the first thing when you walk in? The desserts and stuff. Okay, I hung out by the carving station and by the shrimp and stuff like that. But every time I walk past it, look at the cakes and stuff like that. So people go to extremes. All right. So once I started doing the keto channel, I had an old friend of mine, and she sent me a text and she said, "Tom, I need help. I'm overweight. I was watching your story, blah blah blah." And I said, "Yeah, well, it's simple. Okay, cut out the carbs. Okay." I said, "Don't buy an app or get an app. Use your phone. Google. Okay, How many carbs are in broccoli? Okay. Per cup, 6 carbs. I said, try to keep it under 20. I said, and go from there. I said, a little bit more fat, clean fat. All right. And that's an oxymoron. People say, clean fat, this guy's nuts. Okay. Clean fat. What is he talking about? Well, avocados, some butter, and everything else like that. Well, she calls me a couple days later. She says, Tom, she says, I just discovered something on YouTube and people are saying fat bombs. I went, what are you talking about? Fat bombs. You're trying to kill the craving is what you want to do. Kill the craving from the sugar. Once you do that, you're on easy street as far as weight loss and stuff like that. So that's my journey from there. I told her I can't help you. If you gotta, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm a chef. Okay. And on my channel, I pretty much don't preach too much about it, but I cook. And I'll show you what to eat. Okay. Or not basically what to eat, how to cook stuff to fit into your either keto or carnivore protocol. You can eliminate one or the other. You know what I'm saying? So my thing right now is I'm trying to bring everybody together that I talk to instead of that dividing line. Or you're keto. We don't want nothing to do with you. You got to be on carnivore side. Or carnivore, no. It's all the same. It's all the same. It's just what makes you feel better and gives you the health and the feeling that you want, basically. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, I came across your channel and I thought you had a really great content. I've actually watched a couple of them already. Yeah. And it makes sense now, like, why your journey is pretty much like up and down. I think you talk about like some mistakes here and there about like sometimes you get a little too much protein and then sometimes you get a little bit too much fat and blood sugar not going down. I think, there's a lot of adjustment you did throughout your journey. I think you did keto for a year and then 6 months to a year for carnivore, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mixed them both together. See, because here's the thing. Rather than cooking a couple meals in a day, my wife, there's nothing wrong with my wife whatsoever. So she follows me as far as what we eat, but she's Italian from the East Coast. She loves the pasta and stuff like that. So I have no problem making it. That's the thing I'm talking about where it becomes a head game. When I make the pasta, do I have to taste it? Absolutely not. Okay. But I got to tell you though, Joseph, just dabbling a little bit from the other channel. I take a little piece of bread, or I do taste a little bit of pasta, or something that I'm not supposed to have. All right, my blood sugar goes up. That's how sensitive it became to me. Now, as I got older, I went to the doctor. Actually, the last Dave Mack. I did Dave Mack and on my birthday in 2025. And I didn't see the doctor until end of December. No, I'm sorry, end of November. And we did the blood work the whole bit. My A1C was through the roof. So I said, oh, my God, what have I been doing? Okay, this is what I'm talking about here. Rather than being strict, and yourself, sometimes you veer off a little bit with things, okay? It's natural. It's human nature. But for me, testing a little bit of bread and a little bit of pasta, and I'm an Irishman, so potatoes. Woo, okay. So having different types of pastas and breads and a little bit of potato and stuff like that. And there was one thing that really burned my bottom was when people were talking about keto bread. Now stop and think about that. There is no such thing as keto bread. I don't care where you're from. Okay. No keto bread whatsoever. So, but you fall into that. Well, this guy said it's okay, so I'm going to try it. Have a little bit of here and there. So my A1C shot up to 11, which was ridiculous. Now, I'm getting old. All right. So the bottom line was my doctor says to me, and this is something I railed against. My doctor says to me, Tom, we tried everything with you. I think you need to go on insulin. And, a couple of years ago, I would tell him, go pound salt. What are you talking about? Go on insulin. But it made sense to me. He says, you're getting old. Everything's starting to slow down. He says, so maybe your pancreas, insulin resistant. And that's the other thing. As far as too much talk about it, right? Too many influencers talking about it, where they really don't know because it's individual. Okay, what's good for me may not be good for you, and so you got to take that, take all that jargon with a grain of salt. So I said, yeah, okay. Because now you're going to start talking about insulin way too high. Now you're going to start talking about heart problems, stroke, all this other stuff. All right. So from the time I started keto, I've been pretty healthy. Other than my own personal, I lost the weight. I when I moved out here, I'm a drummer also, so I played in a band. So I was always moving around and stuff into my old age. Whoever thought I would be doing that? But so I started the insulin, and slowly it started coming down my blood sugars. So now you have the naysayers. Well, you're taking the drugs. You gave in. You didn't give the diet. No, I did give the diet a long look, and I worked at it real hard. I worked at it very hard. Okay, I got 1,400 videos. That's how hard I worked on it. You know what I'm saying? So it started coming down to the point where I'm starting to feel pretty good. Okay, the little incidental things. Okay, so insulin, because my pancreas wasn't putting out enough, my liver was putting out too much glucose, so the balance wasn't there. And people talk about it, but not everybody's liver is created equal. Okay, everybody, and your pancreas everybody goes different with it. That's why I urge people. Try it. If you want to just eat carnivore, that's fine. I'm 100% behind everybody. Okay, but listen to your body. Okay, listen to certain things that go on with it. Some people talk about when you're on carnivore, you have bathroom issues and stuff like that. Mine never went away. Okay, but I just put it to the point where, guess what? That's what it's all about. Okay, eliminating everything. And then cooking with my wife, I would have a little bit, like asparagus. I don't go crazy. Like I said, I'm not that big of a deal with vegetables. You know what I'm saying? So it's not my first go-to. Let's put it that way. But I would dabble a little bit back and forth. So just going back and forth with it worked out. But going on the insulin now to the point where I go back to see the doctor in September. And like I said, my weight's down again. My A1C, because I have the CGM, all right? And for the first time in probably 6 years, my blood sugar is below 200. So between my diet and using the long-lasting insulin, okay, now do I want to stay on it the rest of my life? I may not have a choice because I'm closer to the end than I am to the beginning. You know what I mean? So the problem is people get that stereotype goes into people and saying, well, don't talk about it because you're going to get chastised for that. No, bring it on. I'm a big boy. I can handle it. Okay. But I'm looking out for me. And all I do is I tell my story, what happened to me. There again, not a doctor, not a scientist. You got to throw that in here because some people go ballistic about it, But in the long run, I'm feeling really good for 71 years. I'm going to be 72 in October. I walk. I still play the drums, and I cook. We're pretty active. We're doing stuff, and that's where I want to be. I don't want to be in a rocking chair. I don't want to be. I can't do that. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at right now. With everything that I'm doing.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Colin, I know you mentioned early on, like with your endocrinologist and your nutritionist, that they're pretty much crazy for putting you into the food pyramid, right? Like, because you're trying to avoid sugar, and then they want to make you do juicing with different kinds of fruits. What was the reaction when you called them like crazy?
Well, I've been known to call my doctors out because, not being a wise guy or anything like that, because we're talking about me. I'm gonna give you a quick scenario. Well, first of all, I was on, back then, I was probably on 12 different medications. Okay. I was on four different blood pressure medications, to the point where one day in the yard, I fell over, passed out. All right? My blood pressure dropped to 50 over whatever the bottom number was, if it was existing at all. Close to death. Let's put it that way. Ambulance had to come get me, the home bed. So anyway, right away they jump to cholesterol, LDL, HDL. They go into that. Okay. Plus, back then I was on statins, the whole bit. So once, with the bladder cancer, and they sent me to the endocrinologist and the nutritionist. Well, you need to be on follow this pyramid, grains and this and that, fruits and all that. Well, I was naive. So I go back home and I'm trying to, I would come out of the bedroom some mornings and I would be like this. Blood sugar through the roof. And I started Googling a little bit and saying, wait a minute. So my next appointment, I went in, I was loaded for bear. I went in, hi, how you doing? We're going to check your blood. Okay. We'll walk you down one end of the hallway, put you on a scale. Oh, you gain weight. Yeah, no kidding. All right. You got me drinking a mango tree, and beets and apples and come on. I said, no, this is not working. So she says, well, if you can't follow our protocol, then we can't see you anymore. See you later. And I left. So now my doctor calls me and says, they said you were kind of rude in there, and I don't know what else to do with you, like that. I said, I'm going to tell you something too, pal. See you later. So I went and found another doctor. But once I moved down to Florida, I had a couple doctors there that were just like, boy, why are you fighting us? I said, because all the stuff that you're giving me or telling me to do, okay, not working. So long story short, coming out here to Las Vegas, so I go find this one doctor here, and he was a DO. So I figured a DO, they're more looking for natural ways to help you rather than, just traditional medication. So this whole time, Joseph, I've been on metformin and blood pressure pills, like I said before. I was on 4 and I got down to 1. So I go see this doctor, and he says to me, hey, Tom, he says, I think I'm going to increase your metformin. So I was taking 2,000 milligrams a day, 1,000 in the morning, 1,000 at night. So there again, being naive, I'm not a doctor. I don't plan on being a doctor or acting like a doctor. I just know what goes on with me. So that went on for a couple years, I guess, taking it that much, to the point I had stomach issues. I just didn't feel right. So I started looking it up again, Googling this and that. And you can find any kind of doctor. You can find what you want to hear. Let's put it that way. Okay. Sometimes you don't listen to what is the truth. Okay. You try to find what's going to help you as far as what you want to hear. If I can make that clear. But I went the other way. I went to, what is the problem with this stuff? So me and him went back and forth on it. He said, you just can't stop taking medications like that. I said, well, I'm not feeling good. He says, well, you should have called the office here and asked to speak to me. So I said to him, have you ever tried calling here? Okay. He just looked at me like, so this guy was tall and skinny. So I used to call him Celery. So he said to me that, Dr. Celery, you look like, and I think he was a vegan, honestly, just the way he was talking. Nothing against vegans, but I mean that, there's that great divide. You know what I mean? So he was trying to tell me about a couple different things to do. And he says, you know what? I went back and see him in it was 6 months later, go back and see him. And that's when I really went hard nose out here with keto and carnivore again. More carnivore than keto. And I don't know if you have ever been to the doctor and mentioned the fact of eating just meat. All right. They look at you like you got 6 heads. Okay. Are you crazy? You're going to die from that. Yeah. Walk out in the middle of the highway. I might get hit, by a truck and die from that. So I said, here's the difference, doctor. For 30 years now, I've been following exactly your protocols and what you want in the medical field. Not one time have you cured me or fixed me from type 2 diabetes, okay, and from being overweight. All right, we just followed all your protocols, okay, and guess what? Didn't work. So now we're doing it my way, and it's working. And he put his head down. He said, "Yeah, you're right. You're right." Okay. He said, "But I can't tell you that." I said, "No, I understand that, doctor." I said, I'm not trying to be a wise guy with you, but it's true. With that, he turns around and says, I think you need to go on a light GLP-1. Okay. I says, I'm up for anything. Now, this is way before the insulin. Okay. This insulin was just this year. So I went on it because I got my blood sugars back down again a whole bit. I went down. I went on it. And I was on it probably for maybe 8 months. I was doing pretty good, but it didn't see any changes. All right. Next thing I know, my blood sugar started climbing. So that's in 2022. All right. So I called him. I said, "Doc," I said, I told the nurse, I said, "I don't want to talk out of school, but I ain't took a dump in 2 weeks. Something's going on with this GLP-1. Oh my God. Well, the doctor called back and he said, "Nope, stop taking it." So come to find out that it was too light of GLP-1. So your body makes GLP-1s, and also they make GIP. GIP distributes the fat, okay, and puts the fat in the right area. So Manjaro is the one right now that is actually for type 2 diabetics stuff. Anyway, long story short was we got off of that. Now I change doctors. He leaves, and I get another younger doctor. Okay, came in, really nice guy. But we locked horns a little bit about it. He said, "No, I totally get it. Matter of fact, I gave him my card for the Tom Gorby the Keto Cook." And Joseph, this is the only guy that sat down and talked to me about food, what I eat. I said, "Doctor, do you have any other than a couple of weeks, do you have anything in nutrition, studies or anything like that?" And he said, "No, you're right, 100% right." He said, "But I look at it in a different way. If you are this diligent about doing what you're doing and getting results from it, I'm behind you 100%. Pretty cool. That was in February, this past February. I said, "Okay, I like that." I said, "Coming from an old guy," I said, "that pretty good." I said, "I'm old enough to be a grandfather." And we started laughing. Okay. He says, "The only one thing, Tom, I have a problem with right now is your blood pressure is a little high." I said, "Here we go. We're going to go through this routine again." All right, no problem. What do you want to do? The blood pressure pills that you're on, I'm going to up it, okay, from 10 milligrams to 20 milligrams. Okay. I mean, both sides came to the middle, and we both understood each other right then and there. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He's got the degree. I don't. So maybe that might be a problem. Okay. So if we raise it up. Now, Joseph, 2 maybe 3 or 4 days into it, 2 to 4 days into taking this new medication every morning, my legs started swelling up. My blood sugar started going back up again. So right away, old guy, what's the first thing goes on? Well, it's edema. It might be a heart issue. Could be this, could be that. No, it was the blood pressure pills. So I call right away. Now you can go on and you can email them. Okay, you can email your doctor. You go through. It's called My Chart. You have all your information there. And this is great because I emailed him and he got right back to me. "Oh, Tom, stop taking that pill. Cut it in half or whatever. But don't. That's too high of a dose. I guess no good." So I'm thinking to myself, here I am, a guinea pig again. With all these different medications. So all of a sudden, with this, I start itching like a hound dog. Okay, I'm scratching. Now what's going on? Okay, I started getting these patches on my legs. I got a patch on my back, and I'm scratching and scratching and scratching. I don't know what's going on here. So I call and make an appointment. I go in and see the doctor, and he comes in. And, "What's going on? Tom, how you doing? Everything." Well, he calls me Thomas. "What's going on, Thomas? How you doing?" "Good." I said, "I'm scratching like a hound dog with fleas." I said, I don't know what it's coming from. I said, but I got to tell you something. I believe it's coming from the metformin. Now, like I said before, I was on metformin since I think it was 2010. Okay, so 10 years on taking this metformin, different doses. So what I did was I started weaning myself down. The last I was taking was 250 milligrams a day. I was still taking it, but I had a reaction. Come to find out, there again, doing research myself, B12 is depleted by metformin. So I'm noticing my nails are all wrinkly. Okay, started losing a little bit of hair. Okay, not much, but I've got a bald spot in the back that and I don't care about that. That's the vanity stuff I don't really care about. But health issues, me feeling good, aches and pains, joint pains, unbelievable. So he said, yeah, stop taking that. That's when we discovered about doing the insulin and working it that way. So long term, this is for the older folks out there. Make sure when you go for blood work, make sure you get checked for your B12. Okay, because that metformin, if you're taking metformin, that absolutely depletes your B12 to the point where I started, like I said, scratching and wound up with psoriasis. Had to go see a dermatologist, and we changed the diet again. Okay, now we're getting back into feeling much better with it. You know what I mean? It's horrible. It's a horrible feeling just to be scratching constantly.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I've noted that down about the B12. So, for me, for my case, also about the skin issues. And thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tom, so you mentioned earlier about you're in the generation of like no ever good, or like eating cereals. This is good. Comes from our parents, like telling us to eat all these pyramid food. Like, were you ever skeptical of carnivore before starting it, or like how long did you do your research before actually jumping onto it? Because I know you've done keto and carnivore like already.
Yeah, well, like I said before, coming from the restaurant business, okay, you're taught, protein, starch, vegetable, and with the breads and stuff like that. There again, I was never a big fan of vegetables. You got to understand the reason why. Back in my time, they boiled everything, so you get a plate of boiled spinach, slop in with the water. Just wasn't appetizing for me as a kid. So, and I pick and choose what vegetables I eat. I can, that's why carnivore was easy for me, because I could just walk away from it. But back in the day, Atkins was the popular thing. All right. And for a while there, I was actually doing Atkins with not realizing what I was doing. Okay. I would just eat meat. I would, but then later on, when I get done work, I have a couple of drinks, and we would go into Lower Manhattan, into Little Italy, and go eat some pastas and stuff like that. So that was the yin and yang of it back in the day. But when I was diagnosed with the cancer, and I went to see the endocrinologist and the nutritionist, that turned my head. That actually turned my head. I said, these people are crazy. And then back then, that was the thing. The pyramid was the thing. But it just didn't make sense to me to eat whole grains, okay, fruits, all right, high starch vegetables, okay. It just didn't make sense to me because carbs turn into sugar. So, what's going on here? So that's when I turned completely around with that. And I did see big changes with my bladder, with the cancer and stuff like that. But I was left with type 2 diabetes. That's what was the ending, you know what I mean? And I still have it today. As far as people, you hear people that have reversed it and stuff. God bless them. I'm happy for them. But some, like me, again, my age and stuff like that, and that's not an excuse. Okay, can I still reverse it? Sure. Right now, my blood sugars are down. As we're speaking right now, it's 150, 154. Okay, I'm in range, total range from 70 to 180 is the range. That would have been 254 if I didn't take steps to cure it or to make it play into my favor. Let's put it that way. And there again, keto and carnivore. That's the answer. I'm just, I should hang a shingle outside, the keto doctor, but I would get in trouble. But the old saying, Joseph, is you are what you eat. Okay, that's true. That really is true. Here's the other thing. People who are raising children right now, okay? Now, this is just me. This is just the way I think. As a grandfather, all right, this is how I think. Why would you give your kids sugar? Why would you give them candy? Why would you give them something? Fruits and stuff like that is fine, okay, if they have no problems. But why plummet them with a lot of sugar? That don't make sense to me. You know what I mean? And if you look in the mirror and you see yourself overweight, and then you're looking at your children, okay, they're going to follow in your footsteps. All right. But like I said, back in the day, watching Rin Tin Tin eating sugary cereals and TV tray on a Saturday morning, it was completely craziness. Fast food. That's why my channel, I push cook. I don't care what you cook, but cook at home. Family dinners. The other channel I have is the Sunday Dinner Chef. That is nothing to do with keto or carnivore, but it's my nostalgic. The old Jersey diners, which I miss. Okay, going to the diner, and stuff like that. But people need to cook more. They need to be more family oriented. They need to sit down for Sunday dinner. Everybody put the phones away and sit down and have a chat. Okay, and that has a lot to do with it, because as you get older, you reminisce about your past and how you ate. Okay. Whew. Boy, I tell you what, if I could measure how much sugar I took in my lifetime, all right, wow, it would be crazy. Everything around us is sugar. Everything. There's 270 some names for sugar. Okay, that can get away with on the ingredients. Okay. Oh, here says no sugar. It's loaded with it. See? So that's just me. That's I'm thinking I'm doing good for my age, and I'm not making excuses. I never do. If I trip and fall off the wagon, it's nobody's fault but mine. What you put up here is you own it. So, and if you have health issues, I know I'm witnessing now a lot of people. I don't mean to be rambling here, Joseph, but I'm noticing a lot of people who do carnivore now is coming back, adding a little carbs to it. That's kind of strange to me. You know what I mean? And there again, that dividing line. Well, keto's no good. You got to go carnivore. Carnivore's no good. You stay keto. That to me is just complete nonsense. So I don't know. What's your thought on that?
Yeah. I've seen a lot of those videos. With carnivores, like bringing some carbs back in. I think it's probably a sugar addiction kicking back in. But I don't know. It's just my assumption. Yeah. Tom, did you have any assumptions what was causing your health issues? You talk about because you were diagnosed with bladder cancer and you had type 2 diabetes. So did you with my own health issues, I thought it was like stress, or it could be like just a genetics or specific food trigger, but I thought it was like stress playing along like a big role because, at work, maybe I'm working out too hard, things like that. Did you have like many assumptions?
Yeah, certainly did. Joseph, I smoked 5 packs of cigarettes a day. Here's what happened. I'll get into it briefly. Retired, okay, semi-retired, still did odd jobs, still worked in a couple different smaller restaurants, trying to help people, get on their feet with the restaurant and stuff like that. And I told my wife, I've had enough. No, nothing against Jersey, but we lived down by the Jersey Shore in Bricktown, and I put the house up for sale. My house was up for sale for almost a year and a half. Would not sell. So I bought the property. I bought 17 acres of property down in North Carolina. Gradually moving stuff down. It was an old farmhouse. I planned on renovating it, the whole bit. I was still young enough, still able to move around a little bit. And finally, my house, my daughter lived down there, so we would go down and stay long weekends and go back and forth, back and forth. So finally, 2007, yeah, I think it was 2007 into 2008. That's when the market dropped. I sold the house. We were going to closing on Labor Day weekend. So I'm already down in North Carolina. I come back up for the closing. We had it on Thursday because everything was closed on Friday and closed on Monday. Sell it. No money transferred. Okay. It was going to be in my escrow account, the whole bit. Signed all the papers, shook the guy's hand. He said, would I be possible to move in? Absolutely. Knock yourself out. Enjoy it. Get in the truck, back down to North Carolina. Tuesday comes, my phone rings. Now, back in North Carolina, the cell service was horrible. To get this phone call from my attorney, I actually had to drive 20 miles to get a good signal. And they told me, Tom, the funding never went, never came through. What are you talking about? Now I'm smoking. Okay. Never came through. That was stress number one. So here's a guy living in my house. I got no money for it. Okay. So now the stress is building. So that was in September. October, November, just a week before Thanksgiving, I go to the doctor. I'm passing blood. Diagnosed with, guess what? Bladder cancer. Okay. And what do you think the number one thing was? Okay. Everybody thinks smoking is with lungs. No, it's from smoking. Okay. I had quit right after that. Right after I was told in September that the house didn't close. I threw the cigarettes away because I was doing 5 packs a day. I was just eating them. Okay. Pacing, walk back and forth. That led to it. Poor diet. Okay. I became a junk food addict. Okay. It was easy for me and my wife to get in the truck, run into town and have burgers, fries, whatever. Okay. Just eating nothing but junk. Okay. That had a lot to do with it. Until you get to the point where it's more or less stress. And like I said, it's a mind game that I got to watch what I'm doing. Yeah, but that cherry pie looks pretty good. I can have that right now. Tomorrow I'll start again. Tomorrow I'll get on a wagon, and I'll get away from all that stuff again. It doesn't end. It just never ends. Okay, like I said, out here, I like to buy stuff in bulk. Old habits die hard. I'll go to this one store, and as you walk into the store, Joseph, there is the cakes. There is the bakery, and their bacon's there, and that sugar, that confection. Whoa. And I start rattling, and I go walk real fast to get away from it. You know what I mean? And it is. It's one of the hardest. Now, I got into a couple arguments about this. I don't pull no punches or anything. I try to be a straight shooter about it. But there are people who will actually argue with you, right, over, oh, no, you got to be real careful with this. You got to be with the sugars and stuff. No, it's an addiction. A guy says, well, I've been an alcoholic and this and that. But guess what? You still eat sugar, don't you? Okay. You push the alcohol away, but you sit down and eat it. Enderman's cake. All right. But that's because it's there. It's there with everything we do. So yeah, I would say it was more stress related, down on yourself. Yeah. I'll start that tomorrow. Let me have that apple pie. Or let me have that piece of fruit. Okay. It's there. Now, people deal with it. Their metabolism deals with it different. Everybody's body makeup is different. That's why trying to put everything under one umbrella, to me, sometimes doesn't work. Hey, I know a couple people who are vegans. Knock yourself out. I'm a vegan, sort of. Okay. I love to eat meat, cows, and what do they eat? Okay. They eat grass or there. So I'm actually eating a vegan. Basically what I'm doing. So when I have a cut of beef or a cow or something like that, he's a vegan. So guess what? I'm in line. So yeah, stress. I would say stress is like the number one thing, and the sugar addiction. That's my take on it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially with that whole house issue not being solved. Yeah, I can, yeah, really relate to that. Wow. Tom, so what motivates you now? Like, is it sharing your story? Like, is it because you're feeling much better than before, like doing keto? Is it like helping people? Maybe a sense of duty, I would say, or maybe spreading awareness. Are you frustrated with the current medical approach? Yeah, maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yep. Well, first of all, you're never too old to start getting your health back. That's plain and simple. Uh, if you're going to be dependent on just having the doctor, just if I go in to see my doctor, and in the waiting room they tell you to bring your medication with them, which is so you can, you know. And here's where I argue with them. You got everything on record. What have I got to bring them from the house into to show you physically what they are? You know what it is. But I'm seeing these people out there in the waiting room with bags of pills. I didn't want that. I don't want that to this day. So, number one, I would say you're never too old to start it to get your health back. Just the idea of carnivore, eating meat now, not sitting down and eat a 64-ounce steak or something like that. No, you don't need it. Start out little. Okay, that's the other thing. The amount of food that we eat is ridiculous. All right, I know myself. I can sit down and I can have ribeyes a few and far between, but I like a New York strip steak here and there. So I buy in bulk and cut my own. I can finish a New York strip, push it back, and I'm done. That one little, it might be 8 ounces, okay? That one little strip of steak right there is plenty for me. I am good. That's the other thing. People misconstrue it, okay? They also think that you eat blocks of butter. Okay, no, you don't do that. You know, one guy says, "Oh, I had a dozen eggs the other day, and I was full." Well, sure, you're going to be full from a dozen eggs. What are you, crazy? My approach is, and I don't like the word moderation, because moderation to me means you're bound to fail. Because if I'm going to have, in moderation, if I'm going to have 4 eggs, okay, it really didn't do nothing, but I ate it in moderation, so I'm going to have 2 more. Okay, so I try not to use moderation. I more or less put it to the point where eat till you're satisfied, you're satiated. I cannot put another drop in my mouth. That's it. I'm done. And then cut it off. Actually think. Yeah, laying there and watching TV. My wife will say, "Do you want anything?" Man, no, I'm good. I'm done. That's the other key to it. All right. That once you're full, you're full. Don't add no more into it. That's when you're throwing money out the window and just by adding more food to it. Today's medical, you can't solve anybody's problems with a 10-minute visit, 15-minute visit. Okay. When I schedule my appointments, I told the girl, I want you to make sure to tell Dr. Kevin, I need him for at least 30 minutes. Well, we can't do that. Oh, yeah, you can. Oh, yeah, you can. Because I'll put the chair in front of the door so he can't get out. But that's the other thing. 15 minutes, write your script. They don't look at you. They don't examine you no more. They don't listen to your heart or anything else like that. It's just the pill factory. Just keep pushing you out there. So when he comes in, there's a new thing they do. Tom, I'm going to record this, okay? Yep, no problem. And I let it out. For a while there, they were making my wife come in with me, okay? So I wouldn't argue with the doctor. Dr. Celery, that was the other guy, all right? Me and him would get into it. But my main takeaway is that you got a challenge. We're talking about your health. We're not talking about a group of people or the people that are sitting out in the waiting room coming in. We're talking about you, individual, you and the doctor, one-on-one. And you got to have the respect for them. I get that. That's what was drummed into my head growing up. You respect the doctor. You do what the doctor tells you. Same thing, listen to the priest and all this stuff. No, you got to challenge it because you're talking about your health. So if they're going to prescribe different medications, So when this new doctor came in, we went over and he says, how about this? I said, doctor, listen to me. For the past 40 years, whatever you're going to throw at me, I already did. Been there, done that. Now I found my way right now, eating clean. I call it mine keto clean eating. I eat meats. Yeah, my cholesterol might go up. Yeah, this might happen. Yeah, that might happen. But I got to tell you something. I can go out and walk. I can sit in a casino, play the drums all night long, and I have the stamina because you know why? I'm doing it my way, and I'm feeling better about it. You, on the other hand, keep giving me medications and all I'm doing is chasing side effects. I said, we just got done proving it right here between metformin, between the blood pressure pills, and then I'll challenge them. What's the optimal blood pressure for me? Well, they say, no. For me. Oh, I don't know. There you go. Okay. So don't be afraid to challenge the doctor. You might have to go through a couple of them like I did because they might fire you in front of it. Here's what I tell them, Joseph. We are fighting. Me and you are going back and forth because of stuff that I put in my mouth. Okay. Stuff that I ate. Now, because of that, you're trying to treat the ailments I got from what I ate rather than treating what I've been eating. All right. Don't eat sugary stuff, but you can't say that because it's built into your platform where you can't tell me, don't eat potatoes, don't eat bread, don't eat this high starch, don't eat flour, definitely don't eat sugar. They can't tell you that. They'll send you to another person, which charges your insurance, okay, to tell you that juice beets. What are you, drunk? I mean, come on. So that's the takeaway I have for it. They're treating the symptoms of what we put on our face because what is advertised, how the store stocks the shelves, how what we're supposed to be eating. You know what I mean? You know what else out here? There's very little butcher shops. And if you do go in, it's so priced out of the market. It's ridiculous. Matter of fact, a couple of them, one I used to go up the street from me, guy just closed because he can't keep up with the prices and stuff. So it's a matter of everything revolves around what we eat. Now, if you fall and break your leg, that actually has nothing to do with what your diet is, unless you're overweight or you ran out of air and you fell and whatever. But the bottom line is, nutritionally speaking, they don't do nothing for you. Nothing. They just treat the symptoms, and that's the end of it. I mean, and like I keep saying, never give up. I don't care how old you are. Don't give up. Keep that fight going on with you. And actually, it's cheaper to eat this way than it is to eat all the other junk. If you stop and think about it, you know what I mean. I eat maybe twice a day. I pack my freezer. I buy in bulk. I butcher it up myself. Not everybody knows how to do that. But in the same token, learn. It's not hard. Cut it up your way. It's not textbook. We're going to do it this way and cut it that way. Make it the way you want. And the other thing is, if you have children or grandchildren, when they're at your house, put them on a keto or just carnivore. Tonight, we're just going to have burgers with no buns. Ooh, ain't that fun? And just try to work it out that way because they're eating junk. Nothing but junk.
Okay. Tom, this is a great advice. So what does a typical day of eating look like for you now? Do you pretty much keep it consistent or switch things up with the keto? Maybe you can walk me through. Yeah.
Well, like I say, I add vegetables in because of my wife. Okay. And I was going to change my channel from the keto, Tom Glover to Keto Cook. People say, no, don't do that. That's what it is. So looking into it, actually carnivore came out of keto. All right. Keto actually means ketosis. So if you eat a carnivore diet, you actually get yourself into ketosis. So I sort of, stuck with it that way. There's all different types of elements from it. All right. With beef prices right now, I've been eating a little bit more chicken. little bit more pork, stuff like that. But like I said, I buy beef in bulk. I'll buy the rougher cuts, butcher it up, and do it that way. So normally I'll have 2 scrambled eggs in the morning. When I say morning, I'm talking maybe 10:30, 11, only when I'm hungry. Some days I don't have it. I'll just wait till I eat dinner. That is a big thing with, there was a big thing with intermittent fasting. Right? I would watch people go crazy about, oh, I can't do that because I'm fasting right now. Eat till you're full. That fast will come automatically. All right. Whoa. If you keep that in mind, if people keep that in mind rather than the out of habit, okay. Well, you know what? Maybe I can make a fat bomb, or maybe I can make this. No. Back off. I tell them, stop, relax. Are you really that hungry? Well, no. Then leave it alone. Have a glass of water. Okay. Have some Bragg's apple cider vinegar with a little bit of water and drink that, and I guarantee it'll go away. All right. So you're not really hungry. You're actually full, but you're doing this out of habit. All right. So my day looks like a couple of eggs if I want them. All right. And then usually if I'm filming, usually around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll eat. All right. Whatever I'm cooking. Sometimes I'll do just cooking a steak. That doesn't make much of a video for when you're trying to be a content creator. So I'll usually make like shoulder meat or something like that, or braise it. All different types of things. I come up with different ways, but I will keep it into that realm. Usually by 4 or 5 o'clock, we're done with dinner, and then I'm pretty full. And then if I am inclined to have something else, I'll have pork rinds, a little bit of pork rinds here and there, and that basically that's it. I mean, so my days of grazing, throughout the day and all that stuff, that they're gone. They're long gone. Here's the thing: I try to keep my mind that's why I'm doing YouTube and stuff like that. That keeps my mind away from food, okay? Because I could be very highly addictive. Okay, I could be that guy to sit down and preach to everybody about, well, you're going to eat it this way, and sit back and eat baked potato chips. That doesn't work, because you know what? If you're not honest about what you're doing, all right, then you're not honest to yourself. Well, I can just get away with a little bit here. So that usually goes like that. Usually twice a day. Sometimes if I'm just, the only problem I'm having right now is I'm liking coffee more and more. And I can see that becoming a little bit of an issue. With the caffeine and stuff, just I'm trying to back away from it, but I don't have it with some heavy cream. Now I use no milk. Everything that I make, all right, is clean. Nothing from a box. I use heavy cream. All right. Anything from a can would be only tomatoes. Okay, if I make a sauce or something like that. So my channel is basically on to do this type of lifestyle. All right, only with flavor. People think it's very bland and this and that. So if I do make a steak, or if I'm going to have some kind of beef or something like that, I will use a little like oyster sauce and stuff like that, because I try to stay 20 carbs or less. Unless I'm feeling that asparagus might have played hell with me a little bit, so I'm going to back off it. So I'll alternate back and forth with it, but I try to keep that way, and I also try to watch my weight. All right, if I see that if I eat a couple of vegetables throughout the week or something like that, and you can start seeing it cramp, because right now you're very vulnerable. Your body is looking, because it will turn, like I said, chicken. I couldn't believe it, Joseph. When I went on with this CGM, I had plain chicken breast, plain. All right, did it up on the grill, brought it in, cut it up, and this and that, and all of a sudden the alert went off on this. My sugar started rising. Nothing else. So it's not just what you eat up here; it's how your body metabolizes things. So, yeah, I mean, I would tell people, hey, look, you got to eat till you're full. Don't don't keep going back. The grazing has got to stop, number one. Number two, like I said, eat till you're full. And sometimes don't listen to your brain. I need something sweet. I need this. I need that. And the other thing is the condiments. Okay. People, I have a friend of mine right now from YouTube. Matter of fact, tomorrow, on Tuesday, my podcast is about making homemade barbecue sauce. All right. And no sugars, nothing in it. So that's the other thing you got to kick. Well, I can have just burger on a plate, and I need ketchup with the ketchup on. That's a killer right there. So you got to do your research, and you got to really, really want to do this. But if you're feeling sick and you're not feeling right, you're off a little bit, you got to do this. This is the only way to eat. Only way.
Nicely put, Tom. If you had to describe the impact of carnivore in your life, what one word would you describe it, and tell me why?
Well, it's actually two words: getting my health back, getting healthy. There's no two ways about it. I mean, I fought over this, like I said, for many years. Okay, until the demons took, get away from me. But I actually jumped off the wagon. And Joseph, I got to say, I think that caused a lot of my problems. That yo-yo, going back and forth, getting my blood sugar down to where it's supposed to be, and then raising it back up again, getting it back down again. Body saying, "What are you doing?" So I take that as a symptom that my liver, okay, is slowing down. Don't know what to do, putting out too much glucose. My pancreas saying, "What are you doing?" Shooting out too much insulin. In this case, right now, not enough insulin. That's the other side of the coin. Where people label it and say, "Well, you know what? You're insulin resistant. You're making too much insulin." You don't know that because again, they don't test it. So getting the yin and yang set to where you are, try it and start. Don't lie to yourself. You're going to eat some beef. You're going to eat some whatever kind of meat you're going to eat, what you can afford. And guess what? Your health is going to come back. I can almost guarantee it. Okay, that's a broad statement, but yeah, getting your health back is the key, and you get it this way. Weight Watchers, all the other diets, all right, didn't work. None of it worked, except right here like this.
Tom, you've been a chef for a while, and now you're a retired chef. What was your favorite food before finding out about keto or carnivore?
Well, we had in Jamesburg, not that far from in Middlesex County. We had a seafood restaurant. Okay, it was actually we did lobster, all different types of shellfish, clams and stuff like that, and then we also did it was a seafood and steakhouse. So that was right in line with me. And then when we finally sold it, and I moved on, I moved down into Bricktown, New Jersey, and I went to work for a place called Yankee Clipper, and that was more continental stuff. And it was a little bit different, a little more finer sauces and stuff like that. And then I ended up my career in an Italian restaurant. That was the killer. Pastas and all that kind of stuff. And that's where I gained the bulk of my weight. Right? Knowing that, this is not good, as a chef, tasting this and tasting that. But yeah, I mean, the higher carb stuff that we did, that took a toll. Didn't know it at the time, but I'm saying once I look back on it, But basically, like I said, early on, that's when acting. Joseph, I got to tell you something. I had friends of mine that I went to school with. Had friends of mine would come into the restaurant, all right, and they would say, "No, we'll just have the pasta dish, the seafood and the pasta dish. What that red meat? I don't know about that. And the cholesterol that's in the lobster and the shrimp. Oh, and I don't know how you do it." Well, four or five of them, okay, are no longer with us, following that protocol as far as, the high carbs and stuff like that. I mean, one guy, they found him on a jogging path, massive heart attack. So, I mean, that's eye-opening. And I always, not God forbid, saying something, I would always say, "Hey, Tom, the new gym just opened up. You want to go to the gym?" No, I'll stay here. I got a prime rib I got to deal with. You know, that wasn't never my thing as far as with the exercise because I was too big. You know, that's it. What's the most funniest thing you ever see in your life? Go to a gym and see this big fat guy trying. Okay. But I mean, wait till you lose a little bit of weight before you go into the gym. Is my, not that it's a bad thing. I'm trying to get myself out of that one right now. But no, once I found out that you could eat your way out of this because eating got us into it. So eating, getting yourself back out of it, eating the right stuff. That's the key. That's the key.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Tom, is there anything hard or difficult with being carnivore for you or doing keto? Like for me, like social gatherings with non-carnivore people, family, friends, also the travel, scouting locations, if they have anything, that's not going to cause me to starve. Or also the cravings in the beginning. It took me like a year to get it over with. What about for you? Is there anything hard or difficult right now?
Well, what I did was, especially once I came out here, even in Florida too. But what I did was I turned around and I made it work for me. I made it to my advantage. All right. Didn't make a big to do about it, but like if we would go out to a restaurant, I would call the waiter or waitress over and say, "Hey, listen, I would really appreciate it, okay, if I could have that steak, all right, without any vegetables or without the potato. What type of vegetables do you have? Number one. Well, they do have cream spinach. Okay, I'll have a little bit of that. Yeah, but sir, it comes with it. I said, you're not listening to me. All right. All I want, I just feel like having a steak. All right. How's that sound? And just a little bit of that cream spinach. Oh, okay. You don't argue with them and just tell them what you want, or just bring it out and push everything else aside. So it is one restaurant out here that we go to. It's an Italian, it's a Tuscany grill. We go out here, and a waitress comes over and she says, "Oh, you're the keto guy. I got you." And it comes out because I always would get like the filet mignon there, okay, and the spinach, and go from there, or broccoli or whatever else they had. Now there again, like I said, you got to be careful with some of the vegetables that you eat because of oxalates and stuff like that. So I minimally have them. All right, just to have a little bit. Just I don't know why, but just to balance it out. My wife feel good, but going out, I made it always work to my advantage. All right, even if we would go to like a barbecue place or something like that, put the sauce on the side. No extras. I just want that meat. Can you understand that? Oh yeah. And just walk away from it. But rather than even if I go with somebody, all right, oh, come on, Tom, dig in here. We got all this stuff. I'm watching what I'm doing here. Well, I'm sorry, can I make you something? No, it's great. We're good. No problem. And work with it that way because I know if I'm going there, I'll either eat before I go to somebody's home or to some kind of affair like that. But if I go to a restaurant, I try to make it work for my to my advantage with it. And that's once you get into doing that, it's not a big deal. It's not. If you make it into a big deal, you're hurting yourself because now you're letting that get to you. So if I know I'm going to some place or whatever, and they don't have what I have, I'll just have some water and stuff, and I'll cut my visit short. Just to get away from the temptations and stuff. Even like with my grandkids, excuse me, their birthday parties and stuff like that. Come on, Pop, have a piece of cake. No. And I would show my grandson, see this belly right here? That's from cake. Okay. Or they look at me like, and stuff like that. So, like I said, I always try to make it work to my advantage. Try to keep my mindset in the right place, not to stray. Well, this time I can have it. Maybe I can have a bite of that cheesecake. I don't do that because that's going to hurt me. So health first. That's what you got to think of. If me and you were out together eating somewhere and I'd see you start to stray off or something like that, I'd tell you, "Oh, Joseph, what are you doing? Come on, we're in this together here, pal." And that's the kind of mindset you really got to have.
Yeah, I agree with what, many things of that you said. I think it kind of ties back into what you were saying earlier about the mind game concept thing. You know, where you have to work it out to your advantage, and also setting your mind at the right place. You know, because your health comes first. So I think that makes total sense for me. Tom, so knowing what you know now about the carnivore and the nutrition, if you can give an advice to someone who maybe had a chronic, you know, issues or maybe similar to your issues, but at the same time they're very skeptical about the carnivore. They don't know anything. They're clueless, and they think they're gonna get a heart attack if they don't follow their doctor. What would you tell them now?
Yeah. Here's what I say to everybody. We're all in our own little circle. Okay. Step out of the circle and evaluate what went on at that moment. Okay. Or throughout the day. All right. Go to the doctor. Doctor said, "Oh, you better not eat that. You may wind up with high cholesterol." And I told my doctor one time, show me somebody who died from high cholesterol. Show me that person. Okay. Nobody died from high cholesterol. Maybe some other issues or something that might be attributed to it, but there's no studies on it. All right. So get the cholesterol thing out of the way. But what I would tell people, step out of the circle. Don't complicate things. You're going to complicate it. Well, they say that eat too much red meat is going to get stuck in your intestines. And there was a thing years ago. You look this up, Joseph, when you get time. John Wayne, okay, the famous actor back in the day, was like, you know, one of my heroes. They said he had 40 some pounds of red meat stuck in his colon. 40 pounds? Are you crazy? Okay. That was my one issue when I started with carnivore, eating meat and stuff. The amount, I don't want to talk gross or anything like that, but the amount of what you put in and what comes out the other end doesn't match. I'm sorry. Very little. All right. Because most of the beef, there again, I'm not a doctor or scientist, but most of it gets absorbed into your system. Okay. The nutrients and everything else there gets absorbed. Some of the fat and some of the other stuff that your body can't handle, out it goes. All right. That's the truth about it. So the rhetoric that they throw at us, the amount of bull crap that we're sold, okay, that's the problem. That's the number one problem, okay, how we were lied to about it all these years, all right? So it all revolves around a couple things. Big food, big pharma, big medical. And you get to the point where you just start researching, or just not so much researching, just watch. I like to get both sides of the story, okay? Pro carnivore, against carnivore, all right? The pros and the cons, okay, the pros pretty much work for everybody, unless people do have a tolerance for red meat or anything like that. All right. The con side, or the con side of it is, you can't eat that red meat. Try more vegetables. And most studies that you have, okay, is put up by vegans or vegetarian doctors and stuff. There's this one guy on there. I don't want to mention no names, but this guy, he needs to be sat down. First of all, he needs a good steak, number one. Okay. Number two, he needs to be sat down and told exactly why he is so wrong about it, and that he might be hurting people. So the end of the story is, you need to take care of yourself. Okay. Now, this might not be for everybody. You might need to go completely vegetarian, but I don't think so. All right. Balance it out between, if you want a little bit of vegetables, you can wean yourself off. The idea is to get yourself feeling full, and you're going to start seeing the changes. You're going to start seeing exactly, you know what? I don't strain or the pains in my knees getting up and down anymore. It's our diet. The junk food that we're being sold to today, and it's even worse now today from when I was a kid. I could just see it, even in the restaurant business. All right. There's more junk food restaurants that are pushing this poison to everybody than, instead of just saying, I would just like to have, I would call it Tom's Beef House. and just, you know, and just, no, you don't need a baked potato. Suck that ribeye down and see how you feel afterwards. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would tell people don't overthink it. Number one. Number two, find your niche with it. Find which way you want to go. There are people who still like vegetables and stuff like that. It doesn't bother them. But if you're eating something, if you eat a steak and you have spinach, I'm just throwing that out there, and you don't feel right, eliminate the spinach. Give that a try. Okay. So it's basically everybody's metabolism is different. How you process everything, and yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to talk back to your doctor either. But give it a try. You have nothing to lose. The thing that you have to lose is if you're overweight, the weight. All right. Your health. You want to get your health back. You want to get away from the pills and stuff like that. So I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like that advice. I think I like when you mentioned don't be scared to talk back to your doctors. I think I really like that. Yeah.
No, because
Yeah.
Joseph, you know yourself, physical ailments. All right. I went and seen a doctor when I first came out here about my knee. I had knee problems. Playing in a band and drums, you don't need knee problems. All right. I went and seen 3 or 4 different doctors, and my wife says to me, maybe you should just go back to, your regular diet again. So yeah, I think you're right. Sure enough, went back and all the aches and pains went away. So I'm my worst enemy sometimes. But since I last talked to Dave Mack, and it was almost a year ago, or coming up to a year ago, I've been strict, hard on it. Okay, like I was before. I'm feeling pretty good. 71 years old. I mean, you can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, very nice. Tom, my last question for you is how do you see carnivore in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you see it if it's going to be in a good light or the bad light? The bad light meaning we might see more censorship similar to like the COVID ones, or maybe a lot of pushback from the mainstream media or the big pharma or the medical community. And at the same time, the good, we'll probably see more people talk about it, in the mainstream, or maybe more podcasts like this talking about it, sharing their stories because they're seeing a lot of healing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, here's what I think. First of all, number one, we got to get rid of the pros and the cons as far as getting our message out there. The infighting, I guess we could say that, pro carnivore, pro keto, whatever, bring it all together. That's what we got to do, is bring it all together. Everybody's different. But what I do see a pushback from big pharma, number one. As far as I see that pushback because of they're losing money. I think I seen a stat now. I could be dead wrong, all right, but I think I seen a stat to where they said there's possibly 2.5 to 3 million people just in the States alone that are doing keto or carnivore. That's a big number. That's a real big number, and it's starting to awaken certain people. My doctor, the first time in my history going to see a doctor, talking to me about food. Okay, that's the first time. Every time you ask them something about, well, should I be doing this? You shouldn't do that. Well, you should go. Maybe if you want, I can make an appointment to go see a nutritionist. Wrong answer. But the point is, they're starting to come around a little bit more. Some of the doctors. There's some YouTube doctors that sometimes they just need to be sat down and say, you're dead wrong. All right. And like I said earlier, I went through my life listening to what they said, what they did. Okay. And didn't help me. Taking the bull by the horn, with a little guidance from a couple doctors. Now I have this younger guy. All right. And he's into it. And he says, just keep doing he says, you have an advantage right now because I put you on insulin, but your advantage is that you're watching what you eat. That's the big thing. The insulin that I'm providing for you right now may not be long-term, but to get you back to where you're supposed to be, it works hand in hand. So there again, my scenario is bringing it back to keto, carnivore, which to me is the same thing. So just like what I'm eating and what you're eating might differ a little bit, but it's the same concept. It's the same thing. As far as the medical side of it, like I said, they're starting to come around to it. But here's the problem. You're getting your health back. I'm getting my health back. That means fewer visits. That means fewer medications. So they might come up with some phony studies. Okay. Do you follow Nick Norowitz, Dr. Nick Norowitz, or Dave Feldman? Okay. Dave Feldman lives right out here. They're the thorn in the side right now. Them guys right there. Okay. And then you got Dr. Piltz. Okay. You got Ken Berry. You got, I like Dr. Westman, Eric Westman, because he's more of a keto type of guy. All these guys are starting to come out, and these conferences are getting bigger and bigger, more people showing up, at least trying to it. So without being too long-winded with it, I see in the next 5 to 10 years that this is going to be the revolution of food. This is going to be, there's a couple of issues that are going on with it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I got to tell you something. There are some things that I'm starting to look into. Why is there less ranchers in this country? Okay. Why is there less people getting into the food industry as far as that? Why are we importing so much beef that we produce here, better beef? Why are we importing more beef from other countries? Doesn't make sense to me, and I think that might be getting a little bit more pushback. There's a guy I wish I could think of his name right now, but he was a cattle rancher. He actually had a feedlot, and there again, the big yin and yang about grain-fed and grass-fed beef. Okay, there again, that's another thorn. Okay, have you ever had pure grass-fed beef? Okay, when I lived in North Carolina, I was cows all around me, and every once in a while we would take one out. Okay, butcher it up. The fat is orange. Okay, the meat is smaller. It's got a more gamey taste to it. That's from the hoof to my table. All right. And I would get into that because I would help them butcher it. Didn't care for it because you know why? We are more used to grain fed. Okay. But it's still beef and it's doing the trick. So that's the other part of it. They throw these caveats at us all the time. So, with chicken and this and that. And I mean, with pork really got a, bad rap. But right now with the prices, pork and chicken are there. Lamb, forget about it. I love lamb. Can't get it. A small rack of lamb is $54 the other day I seen. Come on, it's crazy. So what do I see in 5 to 10 years? Like I said, revolution. I think it's going to take off. People like young people like you, all right, and others out there, don't stop, man. I'm 5 to 10 years. Who knows if I'm going to be here? But I tell you, I'm going to go down fighting because this is important. This is very important for our youth, for my grandkids, for your kids, all right, to make sure that they understand and learn exactly how to eat and what they put up here, because they're not getting help. Well, it's all about money. It's greed, So that's my scenario, and I see it's going to take off even more, So supermarkets might change. So,
yeah, Tom, this is very well said. I also like some of the questions you raised there. We're not conspiracy theories or anything like that, but yeah, why do we have less ranchers here in the country, and why are we importing more beef from different countries, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, even being a chef, coming from the business, we would grind our own meat for burgers. So when I would butcher up a prime rib or New York strips or ribeye, back in the day, I got to say this, Joseph, and I'm going to show how old I am, but back in the day, ribeye was the cheapest cut of meat you could buy. Ribeye was and now how that evolved. All right. So all the scraps that we want to trim it up and stuff, that's what we went in and made our burgers, fresh ground. Buying ground beef today, you don't know what's in that. They have a solid color. You open it up, and it's almost like orange color. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's 100% beef. That's why I encourage people, grind your own. Make certain investments. Okay, get yourself a good grill. If you can't have a grill, where you live, okay, get yourself a couple nice cast iron pans. All right, use a little bit of oil, use your own tallow. Trim up the beef, put that in a pan, make your own stuff. So you got to take the bull by the horn and make it your way. That's basically where it's at. So I mean, right now there's a couple places out here in Las Vegas that you want to go and have a nice ribeye steak. They sell it with the the tomahawk with the bone in it, that long. So you're paying top dollar for the bone, all right? But they're getting anywhere from $90 to $290 for that steak in certain places. That's what turns people off. So no, there's other ways around it, Chuck, the whole bit. That's why I encourage people to cook. Learn how to cook. Learn how to cook for you. That's basically what it is.
Tom, if people want to reach out or connect, where's the best place to reach you?
I'm on YouTube. I exclusively do YouTube. A little bit of Instagram. I don't understand Instagram too much. I put some shorts and stuff up on there. But I'm at Tom Garvey, the Keto Cook is the main channel. And then for the people who are not really worried about keto or carnivore, I'm at the Sunday Dinner Chef is my other one. That's basically my outlet as far as talking about nostalgia. Back in the day, I feel like that guy. Get off my lawn. But yeah, at Tom Garvey, the Keto Cook is the main channel for. And there again, I don't get into. I might say this is this might be 20 carbs or less this meal and stuff like that, but different alternatives. Give people an idea. It's just not like taking swallowing a pill that you got to do every day. We do have to eat every day, but I show different ways of doing it. You know what I mean? So I might introduce a little bit of greens here and there, or peppers and onions. You can get away with that every once in a while.
Tom, this is excellent. I'm going to make sure to post those YouTube channels and post them all in the description so people can reach you. Tom, thank you again for joining me. I really enjoyed hearing your carnivore experience, your perspective. I appreciate you taking the time to share. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And also, Joseph, thank you so much for inviting me up there. This is the point. We need to get out there and talk more. So guys like you, we need more. We need more. So thank you so much for having me.